Hello, everybody, and welcome to a slightly unusual episode of the Ultimate Job Search and Career Podcast. I am your host, as always, Bill, the company's expert. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about self-improvement, but we're going to be talking about a very specific type of self-improvement. This episode is going to focus exclusively on a course I have called the $100 MBA. And this is a course that I've put together. It's been available for a few months now, and I've had a lot of people that have signed up for it and taken it, and I've got some great feedback. But I receive on a semi-regular basis questions about it from people who are somewhat curious about taking it, but they have questions. So I've decided to compile all those questions, put them together in this episode, and answer all of them. So let's get right into this. I've got my list of questions here. So, if you are deciding whether this course is right for you, these are some of the questions that were sent in, and I've sort of combined a few here. So, first question was, who is it for? Who should take this course? Who would get something out of it? And the answer to that is that there are basically four types of people that are interested in taking this course. Okay, the first type of person is a professional of some kind. If you have a job, you have a profession. So either you are, for example, you are an accountant, or you are an engineer, or you are a doctor, or you are an architect, or you are a lawyer, or you are a journeyman plumber, or you are a computer software designer. You know, you have a profession. Okay, if that's you, and you are looking to advance your career, maybe climb the ladder, become a supervisor, become a manager, enhance your skills, this is for you. Okay, the other reason you may want to take this course, if you are a professional, is if you're looking to change careers. Okay, this is quite a common thing these days. People, they might spend 10 years, 20 years, in a certain career as an accountant, or as in IT as a developer or a systems admin or something like that. And then they just decide one day, look, I want to do something different. That could be because of economic reasons, or it could be because of personal reasons. And they want to change careers. They say, I want to be a teacher, or I want to be a doctor, or something else. Okay. If that's you, adding an MBA to your skills is definitely useful. Okay. It can help you. The second type of person that can get value from this course is anyone who hopes to have their own business. Either they are an entrepreneur right now, or they have ambitions to run their own company at some point in the future. Okay, if that's what you want to do, and you want to do business in its purest form, which I highly applaud you for, it can be a real ticket to success if you can pull this off. Learning your craft is pretty important. If you want to do something, learning how it's done is pretty important. And the analogy I always use is, if somebody wants to be an actor, okay, they want to go to Hollywood and be a movie star. Well, going to drama school would probably be a good thing, right? To learn your profession, learn your trade, okay? So entrepreneurs and business owners, or wannabe business owners, can definitely benefit from this. This course is for you. The third type of person that would contemplate taking this course is a student that is wanting to take a full-blown accredited MBA. Okay, so if you're, let's say you have plans that in 2 years you're going to take an accredited MBA at a university, maybe a fancy university, and you want to get a head start. You want to get a preview of the type of material you're going to be learning, and either to get an introduction to it, or to sort of give you a bit of a head start on learning the material, so that when you get to your MBA program, you do very well and get great marks and get the most out of the program, because you've already been introduced to the material earlier, and then the university program is allowing you to really take the material to the next level. Okay, so that would be the third type of person that can definitely benefit from this course. And then finally, this course is intended also for people that just have an interest in business. Okay, you just want to learn business. I mean, I don't know the terminology. Is it infotainment? It's like sort of education that's fun. Like YouTube is, YouTube itself is based on this principle, among others. A lot of people just like learning, and they don't just watch funny cat videos. They watch videos that teach them something, and they find this enjoyable and rewarding. And that's the type of person that could also conceivably take this course, because the price is so low when you compare it with the standard price for educational programs, that you could take this course just for your personal interest. So that's what I would say. Who's it for? It's for professionals that want to enhance their career or change careers. It's for entrepreneurs. It's for students that would like to prepare for a full-blown, serious MBA that they might have paid 5 or 6 figures for. And it's for the general public who might just be interested in business and want to stick their toe in the water, maybe learn a little bit of a certain area of business, not necessarily the entire thing, but one particular area. This is for you. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So the next question I got was, is this program accredited? The answer is a resounding no, it is not accredited. And the simple reason it never will be accredited, because, like I said, this is designed with no evaluations. And that's intentional, because I want to make this material accessible to people. The type of people that are going to be taking this are people that want to learn. And I don't like encumbering people with all kinds of assignments and tests. This program is actually extremely similar to a lot of distance education MBAs that you would pay thousands and thousands of dollars for. The only difference is that whereas in addition to the learning from textbooks, they would have you do assignments every week in each class. I don't require that. You can do it entirely on your at your own pace and to the depth that you are interested in. So if you only want to skim the material and get sort of a gist or a general idea, that's fine. If, however, you want to go really in depth, you can do that also, okay? Because we're going to be using textbooks. And the textbooks, I didn't write the books. These are textbooks that are used in universities, some very highly regarded MBA programs like Harvard. We're using the same textbooks as a lot of those, because these textbooks are industry standard textbooks written by the authorities in their respective fields. Okay, we're using the same books. Okay, and in those books, like a lot of university textbooks, they have assignments and problems and things like this that you can work. And if you wanted to go a step further and buy the companion books that have the answer keys in, so you can do the problems and then look at the answer key to see if you got them right, or see the work and the rigor, you can do that too if that's of any interest to you. But you certainly don't have to do that. Okay. So the program is not accredited. I'm not pretending it's accredited. I'm not giving any representations it's accredited, and it never will be, because there is no evaluations. Okay. I have no way of verifying what you've learned, and quite frankly, I feel that's unnecessary. What matters is what you've learned and what you gain from it. Okay. So the other question that's part of this is, can you put the term MBA on your resume? Technically, you can. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you have gone through the material and you feel that you've learned it all, or the vast majority of it, I don't think that's a problem. But you would, in order for this to be ethical, you would disclose and say that this is an MBA. And if anybody asks, you say, well, it's not accredited. It's an unaccredited MBA, but I've learned the material and I've applied it in my job, or something like that, if that's true. Okay, so you can put it on your resume. You can say MBA. But what you got to remember is that people are going to make the assumption that's an accredited MBA. And if you're applying for a job or something, if you are doing this, you really want to dispel that myth or that assumption early on. Now, if you're looking for a job, I wouldn't put an MBA after your title if it were me, for several reasons. One, for the reason I've just said, there might be a little bit of an assumption there that it's accredited, and then you would have to explain, and that would perhaps have some negative connotations. It shouldn't if you're upfront about everything, but it might with some people. The other reason, of course, and this is something I've talked extensively on my YouTube channel about, is that depending on where you're applying for a job and what the culture of that organization is, an MBA may not necessarily be valued depending on what job it is and what industry it is. They may not care about an MBA. And so if you say, I have an MBA, whether or not that's true, okay, I only recommend you say that if you have an MBA, but they will actually consider you a less attractive candidate if you say you have an MBA. This is a well-known phenomena, and I've talked about that, or phenomenon, and I've talked about that several times on my YouTube channel in my videos. But you can technically say it, but it would lead to a bunch of follow-up questions and explanations, so it's up to you whether you do or not, okay? But let's be clear, it's not an accredited program. And just to elaborate a little bit further, here's the deal. A lot of us learn mathematics in high school, okay? We learn some elementary algebra and geometry and, things like this, in the same way that we would learn the times tables when we're in elementary school. And, the material that you learn in an MBA, it's just business. You're learning business. And so, if someone learns their times tables in elementary school, and somebody asks you, well, I see here it says that you know your times tables, that learning, that education that you received, is it accredited? It's kind of a silly question, because if you know your times tables, you know your times tables. If that was taught to you by your parent, who's not a qualified teacher, assuming they taught you the times tables correctly, how is that of lesser value than receiving your times tables, like your learning, your education in the times tables by a certified elementary school teacher? You know what I mean? There are certain professions where this is extremely important. Medicine, for example. You really want to certify that doctors know their stuff. Same with engineers. If you're building bridges, you're designing bridges, you want to make sure that it's designed correctly and it won't fall down. So fair enough, you've got to certify people to make sure that they are accredited. Okay. However, business is not quite like that. Business is a bit of a free-for-all. If you want to be a manager, there's no law that says you have to have an MBA. It's not like accounting where it's a little bit different. Okay, but business it isn't. So, as long as you learn the material, this is my thinking on the topic. As long as you learn the material, you should be fine. I've been a CEO, but I was a CEO before I got an MBA, so go figure. Next question. If there are no evaluations, how do you verify the learning? Well, the answer is I don't. It's not up to, it doesn't really matter what I think about how much you learn. This is for you. And I give very clear guidelines of how deep I think students should go in the course. I give lots of videos and I say pretty explicitly, this is how I think you should read the books, and this is, how deep you should go, in my opinion, but it's entirely up to you. Okay, so I don't verify learning, and I see that as an advantage of this course. That's how I designed this. Okay. Next question. How do you get an entire MBA into one course? That's a great question, because normally a Master's of Business Administration is a 2-year full-time degree. It is not one course. Okay, so this is a very valid question. Now, here's the answer. Okay, my $100 MBA course is actually, it's an entire program. A course is kind of a misnomer, okay? Because what you get when you enroll in this is the first thing that I give you is a book list. Okay, it's a list of textbooks, and you can order these textbooks online. You can determine where you get them from. Okay, so if you want to buy it new, great. If you want to buy it used and save yourself a lot of money, you're only paying like $5 a book plus shipping and ordering it off Amazon, that's fine too. You get to decide where you get the books from. But I recommend a book list, okay? And if you are interested in taking every course, like every subject in the program, things like accounting, marketing, finance, economics, and so on. If you want to learn all of those, okay, each one is going to be a separate textbook. And the first thing you do is you order your books, okay? You get them from wherever you want. I provide several links. I provide complete descriptions of the book. So if you don't want to follow my link and get it from that place, you're free to get it anywhere you would like. Then I don't actually teach you all the material. It's not all in my videos. The material is from the textbooks. You read the textbooks at your convenience, on your own schedule, to the depth that you are interested in, and that's how you learn the material. Now, what I provide is, in addition to the books, is I provide several videos that give you an overview of the material, and I provide specific insights into each of those topics. Okay, so I will go through the textbook with you. I'll give you an overview, and then I will talk for a little bit on several specific topics from that book and give you additional insights. Okay, so that's what you get. And the real value here is getting that book list, because these, as I said, these are textbooks written by the definitive authorities in their respective fields. Okay, so you're not getting like books from the local bookstore that are written for like the general public. You're getting the book that's written by the absolute expert on the topic that is studied in business school. And they use these books in business school. And you're learning it directly from that book. So you're getting the authentic firsthand information right there. And how deep you go and how much time you spend on it is entirely up to you. If you really wanted to, get the absolute most from this, you could, in theory, turn it into a 2-year program. You could take like 4 months to read each book, and do it like really intensely. But you don't need to do that. You could skim each book in 2 weeks and get the material that you are interested in learning. So that's kind of how that's set up. So that's how I get an entire 2-year full-time program into a course. Now, the thing about business is that there are many, many courses out there and many, many programs out there that give you a subset of that learning. Okay, they'll maybe only take one subject, like marketing, and they'll teach you a course on marketing, and they'll take that subject and they'll break it into like an 8-week course or an 8-lesson course, and they'll skip out a bunch of stuff and give you the sort of the Cliff's Notes, right? There's many examples of that. But I'm giving you the full enchilada. I'm giving you the entire curriculum that you would receive in an accredited full-time MBA program at a university. So like that's how deep you could go. Or you could take a subset of it, okay? So that's how that works. That's how this is only one course, but you're getting the material for a 2-year full-time university program, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. And you can see that if you go to the homepage for my course, there's a link in the description box of this video, okay? It explains this. You could see like a preview. Here's, all the different lessons, and here's how many videos there are and all this kind of stuff. So you can see that. Okay. Next question. Is the quality any good? Yes. Yes, it is. Like I basically said, I mean, you're learning this right from the horse's mouth. You're getting it right from the official textbooks they'd be studying in university. Okay. So yes, it's high quality. Now, of course, you could choose not to really read all of it or go in depth. I mean, and in which case you wouldn't learn as much. But hey, if that's what fits in with your goals, that's fine. You can go as deep as you want. But yes, the quality is good, okay? The material itself is peer-reviewed and industry-approved, and it's been adopted by many, many centers of learning all over the world. So, there you go. Okay, next question. Are the books included? No, the books are not included. Okay, so if you pay $100 for the course, you would then have to spend more money on the books. But, like I said, what I've recommended, and I've made this very clear in the course, that I'm not a big fan of paying millions of dollars for brand new textbooks. I'm a fan of paying a tiny little bit of money for a book that's a couple of editions old that is, I don't want to use the word just as good, because I actually think that these books are better. The older editions are actually better than the new ones. Why do I say that? I say that because a lot of textbooks, when they come out with a new edition, which they do every 2 or 3 years, a lot of times the majority of the material, the teaching, the text, is the same from one edition to the next. Okay? The only thing that really changes a lot of times are the pictures and the examples, okay? The case studies. What they'll do is they'll use more modern examples that illustrate the concepts they're teaching. Okay? Now, what I find interesting is when you use not the absolute latest version of a textbook, but like maybe one that's 5 to 10 years old, when you look at the case studies of those textbooks, it's very interesting because they're using examples that are maybe 5 to 10 years old. And you will have seen how those concepts have played out. Okay? Let me give you an example. When they're talking about a certain type of management, okay, an example they like to use is, from example, say 10 years ago, they'll use something like BlackBerry. Okay, the company BlackBerry that made the Blackberries. And at the time, they may say, BlackBerry is using this management technique. And as you can see, they are on top of their game. This is an example of how to do things right. Well, as we all know, BlackBerry is practically non-existent today. They once had almost complete control of the smartphone market. And that was... That's certainly no longer the case. I think the iPhone came along and gradually pushed them out and out and out, and now they own something like 0.5% of that market. So that gives you additional insight. So when you see the case studies that they're using to back up the concepts, it gives you additional insight into, those examples and thus the material. Okay? And that teaches you a little bit more than what you would get from a example from today, because it's everything looks good today, but we have yet to see how these situations play out, right? Well, you don't have that disadvantage when you're using a slightly older version of a book that uses slightly older examples, and you know how they played out, so you get additional insight. Excuse me. Okay, next question. What do you learn specifically? Well, I have divided an MBA program into 8 classes, I guess you could call them, 8 subjects, okay? And I mean, this is not original to me. This is how a lot of MBA programs are structured. And the 8 areas are management, marketing, accounting, organizational behavior, finance, economics, innovative problem solving, and electives. Okay, there's many electives. But that is 8 separate areas, okay? So you are going to be learning about each of those in depth. Each one of those, apart from electives, is a book, is a textbook. And then on top of that, if you want to go deeper into certain electives, I also give a book list on optional books. If you have a specific interest in a specific area, I give you my book recommendation for that area, which you can order and read. And it's the same idea. These are industry standard books on the subject. Okay, but those are all options, okay? You basically have 7 textbooks in 7 subjects, which are mandatory, and then electives. And when I say mandatory, this is like mandatory in a corresponding accredited university MBA program. Okay. Now, the elephant in the room here is that I don't have a specific course on operations or operations management. Okay. And that is intentional. That is because operations is covered in pieces in these other courses. Okay. So that's something I've done there. And besides, operations, like if you want to get into many of the facets of operation, things like quality or change management, those are individual electives also, okay? Because operations is a huge topic and it covers many different disciplines. Okay, so that's specifically what's in the course. Where do I get the books? That's another question. Well, you can order them online, and Amazon actually has quite a few of them, but I have provided links to other internet-based textbook sites. Okay, so if you want to get older versions or used versions of the books, which I recommend, you can get them for cheap. It's very convenient. You don't have to do anything weird. You could just order them all. And, some people have actually ordered all the books. They've gotten all the books for less than $100. So, that's not everybody, but a few people have managed to do that. So you can just order them online. Most of them are Amazon, and most of them are a couple of textbook source websites. Another question. Does access to the course expire? No, it doesn't. I've intentionally turned off any kind of expiration. So once you enroll in the course, you have access to all the videos, all the downloads, the PDFs, the Excel file. You have access to all of that forever, basically, as long as my online university, if you want to call it that, my school is in business. Okay, it doesn't expire. How many hours of video are provided with the course? And it's well over 6 hours of video, okay, of me sort of giving insights. So that's the answer to that. What qualifies you to teach this material? Okay, well, hopefully people are familiar with my YouTube channel, but I guess the answer to that is I'm a former CEO. I was a CEO of a smaller company, and I have an MBA, an accredited MBA myself. I also teach in universities and colleges across North America. I have taught in universities and colleges across North America in the business program, specifically in HR, but also in other areas of business. And my area of interest and specialty is also entrepreneurship. I have mentored many startup founders and people who start small businesses, SMEs, and I'm a management consultant that has consulted for many SMEs, small and medium enterprise. So you put all that together, and that's why I created this. But I'd like to stress, it doesn't all hinge upon what you think of my authority. You're learning the material from industry standard textbooks. And I got, these are books that I've used myself. I've read all the books myself. I like those books. I've taught out of them in teaching in university programs. I've also actually created 3/4 of a postgraduate management program for a learning institution up here in Canada. So where I designed their entire postgraduate business program. I didn't do every single course, but I did 3/4 of all the courses. So that also, I suppose, would help to qualify me, but hopefully that should be enough. I think a lot of people will take the course because you're familiar with me and my videos on my YouTube channel. So hopefully that makes sense. And finally, how useful is an MBA? Well, that's a great question. The answer is somewhat useful. It depends what you want to do with it. For some people, it is incredibly useful. It is the ticket to a very flashy career with a lot of high-paid jobs. For other people, it doesn't really add too much to their job prospects, depending on what industry you're in, what role you're going for, what area you're trying to work in. Okay. I mean, for example, if you just want to work at a gas station and you're happy there, how much will an MBA help you? I don't think that much. Like, I think you could still manage a gas station without having a master's of business administration degree. You would have to shadow the owner of a gas station or the previous manager for a couple of months, perhaps, and have like a high school education for sure. And then I think you could probably pull it off. That and your experience working at a gas station, I think would allow you to do that job reasonably well. I still think you can benefit from understanding business. If you're trying to do something that you have no experience doing, like for example, if business is slowing down and you have to try and come up with a way to beef it back up again, okay? And this is something you've maybe never done before working at the gas station, the MBA will give you insights in how to do that, okay? That's its primary value. A lot of people learn business by shadowing someone who's doing business, okay? And it's really not that hard to do. You sort of see how they do their job, and then you imitate them, and you can do their job. And that's great. And a lot of people are employed in management positions doing that. That's how they learn. They don't have an MBA. And that works fine. Sometimes it works well. But here's the deal. The moment you're confronted with having to solve a problem that you haven't actually seen someone do before, that's when you can use the training for an MBA. Because the MBA tells you what's the type of thing you have to do in pretty much every situation. That's what its value is. It's something that you don't have to learn through experience. You don't have to experience every possible situation in every industry, at every size of company. Okay? Instead, what the MBA will give you, it'll give you theory. But the purpose of the theory is so that you can walk into a situation and not have to do trial and error to find something that works. You will know the type of thing that should work in that situation. And if that's what you try first, most of the time that'll work. So that's the value of having an MBA. But you don't have to listen to me for that. You can verify that by talking to almost any major educational institution and talk to the people that teach in their business programs, and you will see that'll be what they will tell you will be similar to what I've just said. That's the value of it. Just like acting. I like the acting analogy. If you've never been to drama school, you've never been taught how to act, okay? Maybe you can do certain things, and do them well. You're maybe like a one-trick pony, or you have a couple of things you can do, which is great, and you can make your career out of that. But perhaps there's a very prestigious role in a movie that you want to apply for, and that requires a certain type of acting that you've never done before. Maybe it requires certain skills, like you have to speak a different language, or you have to act in a certain way, you have to play Shakespearean or something like that, and you've had no formal training. That's where it comes back to bite you, the lack of formal training, as opposed to a classically trained actor who would know that as just part of their standard skills that they learn in drama school. So hopefully that makes sense. That's the end of my list of questions. So if you're thinking of taking that course, hopefully this has helped you. If you had some questions or you didn't know quite what to expect or what it was all about, hopefully that makes sense. If you have any additional questions, please let me know in the comments, and I will be happy to either answer them in the comments or do another one of these, where I can give you the answer a bit more directly and with a bit more embellishment. Other than that, follow the link to the course, the $100 MBA course. There's a link in the description box, and that gives you an abstract of the course, and that's where you can sign up, etc., etc. And there you go. If you are at a certain point in your career where you feel that you've hit an impasse, you're not really progressing, okay? This is one way to sort of add fuel to the fire, okay? And it's useful for not just like impressing recruiters to give you a more prestigious, higher level job, but also it allows you intrinsically to do your job better. Okay, understanding business helps you make the right decisions in your job when you're working in a business. You know the priorities, you know how things should be done, you know techniques of making things better and more efficient and quicker. You know, that's what it gives you. And it allows you to sidestep mistakes rather than having to learn everything the hard way. And so you don't have to just impress a recruiter with an MBA. You can also use this material to excel in your existing position. So I want to leave you with that thought. So thank you very much for listening this long. You guys are amazing. 38 minutes. Wow, I sure can go on. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Thanks so much. Hope to see you on the next video of the Ultimate Job Search and Career Podcast. And I promise we will return to more, more traditional topics next time. Thank you very much. Take care.